we are sharing our most recent research. Siavesh Radpour, you see here, is our research director, and Jessica Forden is one of our newest research associates, a very able economist, fast thinker, policy-oriented, comes to us from the Roosevelt Institute. And so, Jessica, let me hand it over to you to present to these fine folks what our new research shows.
Thank you, Teresa. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. And thank you, Teresa, again, for that lovely introduction. Today, I'm going to be sharing some top-line findings from our research at the Schwartz Center on older workers, their job characteristics, and retirement. In our research, we are concerned that the most vulnerable older workers are facing challenges to secure retirement due to the physical demands of the jobs they're able to work and how this may contribute to involuntary retirement and retirement insecurity. To start with, there's an understandable expectation that technology and modernization makes jobs easier for older workers. And this is largely true. Innovations like fewer chemicals in service work, the long wall machine in mining, or voice-assisted computers do indeed reduce strain on workers. But this progress has been slow and uneven. We can see this in the percentages of older workers who are in physically demanding jobs, especially when broken down by race and gender. Almost a quarter of older white workers and over 40% of older Black and Hispanic workers, almost up to half in some cases, are in physically demanding jobs. And these jobs are jobs like delivery work, truck driving, janitorial and cleaning services for the men, and personal care, nursing, and childcare for women, all of which can be very physically strenuous on the body. And this physical stress can have really negative and serious health consequences for these workers that may eventually prevent them from being able to continue working. Now, I want to pause here to clarify a few points about the data I'm sharing. First, we are specifically focused on older workers between the ages of 55 to 64. This is because this is an understudied, particularly vulnerable precariat of workers who are in an absolutely vital stage of retirement preparation. And this group is not small. We're talking about 27 million people when we're talking about these workers. That's a big group. Additionally, once you get past the age of 65, labor force participation decreases and becomes much smaller. So the data narrows and it becomes harder to get significant and interpretable results. Second, we don't have numbers on younger workers for comparison here. We chose the data set that was best suited to study the workers that we are most interested in, this 55 to 64 age group, and that data just doesn't provide numbers on younger groups. Third, I want to be clear that the data I'm sharing presents levels, not trends over time. So we're not looking at changes over whichever time period. What we're really concerned about is what's going on now. And lastly, the most recent year of data we have is for 2018. So at this time, we can't provide any comment on COVID and the pandemic and how these affected the numbers. Now, moving on to our next set of important results that we have, we are concerned about how working in physically demanding jobs affects a person's ability to work longer. Not necessarily because we want older workers to work longer, but because this is often a solution that is presented as the answer to longer life expectancies and decreasing retirement security. As we can see, however, there are significant proportions of individuals in the 55 to 64 age category who retire involuntarily. And I want to be clear here what we mean when we say involuntarily. Many people think of retirement as a worker decision, something that workers have control over, but this is not always the case. Many workers, in fact, over half of workers age 55 to 64 are getting pushed out. Though job loss is the primary reason that we see in the data, so for example, being unexpectedly laid off by your employer, involuntary retirement is also driven by health issues, such as those brought on by working in the physically demanding jobs we discussed in the previous slide. Older workers who retire earlier than planned can suffer serious financial impacts from being less prepared for retirement than they anticipated. And in conclusion, I want to end the talk where I began and quote directly from our policy brief here. Many workers are caught in a difficult circumstance from which there is no escape. They may need to work into older age to support themselves and prepare for retirement, but the jobs that are available to them are the very same jobs that may push them out of the workforce earlier than anticipated. That concludes my presentation today. Thank you so much for watching. And I believe now we are going to open up the discussion for question and answer.